Coming up, how to change the batteries in your AirTag, and I shout.
You're listening to Double Tap, your daily accessible technology show. Now, here's your hosts, Stephen Scott and Shaun Preece.
Hello. Welcome to another Double Tap for a brand new week. How you doing, Shaun Preece?
Not so bad. We'll see how the week goes, but yeah, I'm okay.
Always bringing the positive vibes, the energy that gets us going every day. You are the electricity beneath my...
data center. I know. Thank you very much. You know, I don't know. I'm waiting for the summer. That's what it is, Stephen Scott. Waiting for the sun.
Sorry, you live in the UK, right?
Yeah, sorry, I forgot that bit. Yeah, I'm waiting for a long time, but you know, it'll happen.
Go to Spain or Portugal or something. You'll get amazing sunshine there. Listen, today on the show, we're going to dive back into the inbox. And as well as that, we are going to hear from our good friend Jenine Stanley again. She has sent us a little tip, which I want to share, which I think you are going to really appreciate. I certainly am.
Oh.
How to change the batteries in your AirTag.
Why didn't we play this like a month ago? Because I've lost my AirTag.
Oh, well
and
done.
the battery's dead, so I can't find my AirTag. I mean, it should be impossible to lose an AirTag. That's the whole thing of an AirTag, is that it's findable. But I can't find it because the battery's dead. Thank you.
Is there someone involved in this program who could, at this point, insert on the YouTube feed, obviously, and perhaps even an audio version of it as well, someone constantly slamming their head on a desk sound effect, or perhaps a meme just at this point?
Why? What are you saying?
I just, do you know what? As much as I kind of want to frown and say, silly Shaun,
yes,
I also kind of can't disagree with you, right? Because
have you lost boat?
No, but I'm very close. I'm at that point where it continually reminds me, and it's doing that beeping all the time. Mine are connected to my keys. Most I have them connected to keys, and I don't know about you, but in my house, the one line that is uttered the most, other than Stephen, you know, when will you get a real job, is, you know, where are my keys? That's the one. That's the line I always.
Well, at least you've connected you. See, I haven't got a holder or anything, so mine is just in a drawer. And when I want to use it, like I'll throw it in a backpack, throw it in a suitcase.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So I've got the one. You know, I'm not mad. I'm not a millionaire, Stephen Scott. I'm not going to buy multiple AirTags. So I've just got the one. So I haven't got it attached to anything. But yes, I lost mine. I didn't even know it beeped. Does it beep when it starts to run low on battery?
But what's interesting is if you pick up the keys, it's only when you kind of pick them up. All in saying that, I don't listen to my keys all the time. You know, I have a life, you know. Well, it's an existence, okay. But no, I've got, I'm not sitting listening to them all the time, but I do know when I pick the keys up, that's usually when it does the little beep, 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 as if to say, hello, might want to change the battery.
Okay, welcome to Double Tappers, by the way. It's a tech show, honestly, but...
What about AirTags? What more tech do you want?
Well, no, I'm about to go off topic. I'm about to go rogue. Sorry. I don't carry keys anymore. I don't carry a wallet. I don't carry keys. I have no money in my pocket. Everything is my smartphone.
Are you Amish?
No, I'm just saying. Who carries keys? What's the matter with you? Get with the times, Daddy.
What are you talking about? What do you mean, who carries keys? Well, generally, if you want back into your property, assuming you've got a house, you're not one of those living in a tent outside. Have you moved into that shed? You've moved into that shed, haven't you? You're living in there. Tilt that camera down. Is there bedding in there?
Stop it. Smart locks. That's the secret. And you just, fingerprint or you type in a code in your phone, bang, you're in your house. What?
Do you have a smart lock?
No, that's not the question, is it? No, I don't.
Well, okay,
I don't.
But it kind of is the question if you're saying you don't have keys. So how do you get back into your house?
I don't lock my door.
Kick the door in? What do? You just don't lock the door. Right, okay.
No one knows where I live. It's fine. I never
Shaun's house is open. Go get things. Free dog.
It just seems, I don't know, it seems back in the day now, keys, money in your wallet. Nah, those days are gone, sir.
I still carry, I don't carry a wallet, actually. Funnily enough, that's one thing I don't carry. And, I was getting a taxi the other day, and it's always the same. Even local taxi companies especially, you'll sometimes have that awkward moment. I tend to get it out of the way as soon as I get in the taxi. First thing I'll say is, do you have a card machine? And if they say, no, right, that's it, I'm out, because I don't want any, I can't be bothered with it. It's just, no, I'm not doing it.
Let me, you've pushed my buttons. every time I order a taxi, I say, I need one with a card reader. I don't have cash. I'll be paying with my smartphone. Yeah, not a problem. Every driver has a card reader. And then when it comes to getting to your destination, I'm paying by Apple Pay. No, I don't have a card reader, it's cash only.
Yeah, they do have a card reader. They're just telling you that.
Yeah, every time I say, well, I don't have any cash. And they say, well, the last one said, well, what are we going to do? I said, well, that's it. So I ring the office and say, this guy's telling me he hasn't got a card reader.
10 years, we're going to get married and go and live in Sweden.
I'm living in your cab. They always do have a card reader. Of course, And to be honest, I've spoken to some drivers and they say, well, look, I get charged by the credit card processing company or whoever it is. Yeah. And I also get charged by the office to take a certain...
my eyes are filling up.
No. I actually agree with them. I say, well, charge me the extra. I'll pay the surcharges for the convenience of doing it. But you know what? I've moved to Uber, and I've got to say, because I used to always say Uber never picked me up. They used to always cancel my rides. I've been using Uber now, and my partner have been using Uber for the last few months. Absolutely amazing.
Do you know why? Because I fixed it for you. I fixed it.
Oh, did you? Of course you did. What did you do?
It's all thanks to me. Because remember when I came down to visit you and I got an Uber and you said, oh, Uber.
Yes,
and then
I did.
said, let's go into town. And you said, there's no point getting an Uber. They won't pick us up. And I said, yes, they will. Yep. And they picked us up. And ever since that moment, somebody somewhere ticked a box to say, that house is okay. You can pick up that guy.
Oh, is it?
Yep.
I think my rating is 4.63. I was quite upset, actually.
I must check my rating.
It was
checked mine.
You got to turn screen recognition on the iPhone app too. But yeah, 4.63. Why am I not a 5-star? I have witty banter. I don't,
Do you rate your drivers?
Always, yes, and usually a £1 tip if they're good. No tips from me. Joking aside, though, I find them really good. On a whole, the assist option as well. I don't know, if this is available in every country, but there's Uber Assist. And I will order that sometimes because I think the drivers are more aware that I may need help getting to the entrance of wherever I end up being.
Yeah.
I just think it works so well. The app is accessible. It can be a little bit confusing sometimes, but in general, it's accessible.
And the map is hopeless, but, it's
not
so bad now because at least they can call you. And I suppose, if you get Uber Assist, that's true, you can type a message, but can you... Do you feel when you talk to the drivers, do you feel they've got a bit more of a sense of training? Or is there anything like different? Or does it just feel like a driver just called themselves assist?
I don't know. I had one assist who grabbed my hand and dragged me around to the car door, which I thought,
you got married again.
That's not a great start.
I always say that to every driver. I'm like, let's not get married here. Let's do it properly.
But at the same time, because I'm paying for it and because I've booked an assistance car, I don't feel funny about saying any chance you could, take me to the door. If I'm using an ordinary taxi and I arrive somewhere, getting that assistance to the main entrance of a train station, let's say, can be incredibly tricky. And, when they say, no, I can't stop here or no, I'm not going to, it's kind of difficult to argue with them. You can say, well, that's not very nice. But at the end of the day, it's not really their job, right? So
no, and also sometimes if you're going to a train station, for example, or a city
nightmare
centre,
to park.
Exactly, there's sometimes double parking, so they can't really leave the car.
No,
without a fine or whatever. I have had a couple of times when the drivers had to do that. I'm quite lucky actually. Sometimes where the driver will just say, "Yeah, they can wait." And I think it's funny, right? Cars will start, especially in London, down in England, right? You'll get sometimes it's a very busy place, and everyone seems to be in an absolute hurry to get anywhere. Wherever they're going, it's the most important place in the world, and they must get there.
Things get done in London. I don't know what happens in Glasgow, Stephen Scott. But
you just wander about. We'll get there. That'll happen. Don't worry about it. Get a cup of tea, relax. In fact, actually, Glasgow is quite the opposite because people in Glasgow are often known in the UK as friendly, but what we mean by that is that, we will, as I witnessed once, an American priest had arrived. He was standing at the bus stop, and this lovely lady who's talking to me heard his accent and suddenly thought, oh, he's far more interesting. So she went off and talked to him, and he was trying to explain where he was going. He was going to a children's hospital, which was in the city. And he said, I'm just not quite sure where to go. She said, not a problem, I will take you. And so she did. She wasn't going there, but she got on the bus and she took him. And,
well, that's what you don't know the end of the story. He was never seen again.
That Preece is part of a wonderful new Netflix docu. No, I'm not kidding. But
anyway,
what were we talking about? Ubers, yeah.
Not carrying keys, not carrying wallets. Uber's great.
Can I just hello? But I'm one of the few people in the world.
Yes.
Although I say few people, there's probably plenty of places in the world who don't have it. I don't have Uber. Don't have Uber here.
Whoa. Hang on. You have Uber Eats, don't you?
Just about, yes. If I go into the wrong Uber room Eats, in my house, I don't.
You have Uber?
No, I don't have Uber, no. There's no Uber here.
Well, if you order Uber Eats...
If I try and order an Uber... Well, if I try and order an Uber, it will take either a very long time to get or more often than not cancelled. Because we're just outside of the area. There are no Uber drivers around here.
Well, if you live out in the countryside there, what do you expect?
Well, the thing is, the helicopter takes me most places, so it's fine.
Anyway, Jenine will be showing us how to change the battery in an AirTag coming up.
Thank goodness, because I have to say, by the end of this conversation, these batteries will be dead, so we should probably get on with it. We're going to do that, but we're going to get into some emails today as well. Continuing the whole conversation on Braille. I want to start off with an email from Ken today because Ken's been in touch a few times. And Ken, I want to say to you, I really appreciate the emails you've been sending in. The nature of some, and I want to say this to everybody as well. The nature sometimes of the emails you send are very long emails sometimes, and we want to play them in, but we're trying to find the best way to sort of facilitate your messages because you're sending in such amazing content. We could do a show on one email. We really could.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it, but we're trying to stagger them out so everyone can get a chance, but also that we can give your emails the chance to play. And if you continue sending emails, we are obviously trying to, bring them together so that we can, get the message out, but make sure everyone else is heard. But Ken is one such person who has been in touch a few times on the subject of Braille, and in particular, the subject of Braille literacy. And I want you to hear what he has to say on this.
Hi, Double Tap team. My podcast program was out of service for a while, so I'm a bit late with my comments. I am probably the closest thing to a Braille literacy contrarian that you will find. I will keep my comments short to honour your request for shorter messages where I can. My views are complicated, so I will also provide my website for fuller explanations. I am tired of the Braille literacy and employment correlation that Braille literacy advocates use. The short response based on logic and statistics is correlation does not mean or imply causation. Please go to my website braille-illiterate.info for a fuller explanation. Stephen, your idea that if you had been taught Braille in school, that you would be able to read the email messages instead of Laura is probably a little unrealistic. There is a fact that Braille literacy advocates avoid. All of the empirical studies that I reviewed or heard of place the reading speed of the typical Braille reader at a half to a third of that of print readers. The best study I know of places Braille reading speed at 125 words per minute and print readers at 250 words per minute. If my half-remembered speech rate of 160 words per minute for English speakers is correct, anyone reading and announcing words at a rate of 125 words per minute would sound strange or off. I will try to forestall the but about Braille reading speed of X does X response. Those people are statistical outliers. They do exist, but are not representative. If you have an issue with any of my views on Braille reading speed, please go to my braille-illiterate.info website. Putting the Double Tap team in the middle of a debate is unfair, since you have the opportunity to deal directly with me. I agree with Shaun about how visually impaired students would probably lose any Braille competency after leaving school. I also suspect that many totally blind students would seriously reduce their use of Braille after leaving school. Speed does count in learning and life. I could go on for some time about the Braille discussion episode, but will make one more point. Based on my college linguistics and semantics course, virtually nobody reads cuneiform, Egyptian hieroglyphics, or Linear A these days. Writing systems do die. I am indifferent about the survival of Braille. Best regards, Ken in Sacramento, California.
Ken, listen, Ken, I want to say, first off, good for you for getting in touch with that view. And it's not just a, some might say, Stephen Scott style view, which I take offence to, by the way, because I do think about my position.
It was well informed.
It doesn't mean there's any sense to them, but I do think about them. But no, that's a very considered thought. And I also appreciate you managing to truncate that down in such a way as you did, because I had read a lot of your emails and I've been very interested in them, because it is a contrarian view and it's one that you don't hear very often. And I think actually there's probably more people out there with that view and don't get a chance to talk about it. Look, I know that only because I know there's many topics we talk about on this show, Shaun, where we've been told privately, oh, I completely agree, but couldn't possibly say.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot. And, that's something I hope we can open up. And it takes people like Ken to actually come out and say it. So good for you, Ken. And I appreciate the comments.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to agree with Ken, but, he's got the facts. At least if you check out the website, what was it? It was Braille-illiteracy or illiterate.info. Ironically,
we'll be able to spell it.
Ironically enough, I can't spell it. Yes. So, well, I'm sure you'll find it. Look, sounds interesting. I will definitely look that up. I must admit, initially, when I heard Ken talk about, reading speed of Braille and, you wouldn't be able to do the emails, I kind of want to push back almost, I don't know, almost as a reflex, push back against that, say, no. I know people who do read Braille. But actually thinking about it, maybe they are outliers. Maybe reading speed of Braille could never be the equivalent. And maybe it will always sound a little bit strange. Honestly, I don't know. As a Braille user, I can't really comment on that. But
I would say there's probably some truth to that. I think if you just look at general humanity, right? I mean, there are people who are really good and really fast at doing some things, and then equally someone else might come along and do similar and not be as fast at the job. So it wouldn't be unusual to think that way, right? I mean, there's always going to be people who are super capable and super wonderful, and I'm not saying it, but super visually impaired.
You can't say that.
You can't say that either. No, I know that's been struck from the record, stricken from the record. Goodness me, my English is all over the place today. But no, I think that I come at this from an I don't know position because I don't, but I want to ask the question, and Ken is answering that question with facts, and I think that's really interesting. Now, of course, there'll be many people who will disagree. And I want to hear from you because that's what this show's about. It's about difference of opinion. It's about hearing those opinions. It's about respecting those opinions as well. I think this is one of the joys of the show. We're able to have some great discussions and actually discuss these things. I think this matters because if there are facts out there which tell us that this is nonsense, there is no correlation between, employment and Braille.
Yes.
And there are plenty of examples of it. And look, I'm going to be totally upfront, right? I've heard a lot of the arguments that people make about people who don't have Braille and get on to have successful positions and jobs. And what is often levied at those people is, they get help from other people. They've got assistants. They've got people around them. As if that's a bad thing, right? I had a support worker when I was at work. Now, I wouldn't have been able to use the systems that were in place.
Ironically enough, yeah.
Well, I have to say I can't complain too much because it was me that put them in. But
you're a monster.
Well, there's a lot of reasons for that, right? But I'm not going to. I wouldn't blame anybody for what was there because I was the architect of that to some degree. So, I'm not going to blame anyone else. It was on me. But what I'll say is that I had someone helping me out to do the job. Does that mean I'm not as worthy a candidate of the job? I mean, I know I used to hear that argument, and hey, listen. As an individual, I used to think it. There was I had a support worker who once said to me, you may as well go home and I'll just do this. And I thought, it doesn't really look good, does it? Me being here and you're doing all the work essentially. And
does it look? Who cares how it looks? Is it true? Is it a fact that the support worker is just doing your job for you and you're just a token disabled guy there making up the numbers? Don't even hesitate. No.
No. No.
Right, thank you.
It's a short answer. No. I mean, the thing is, you're the person who is a support worker on that occasion is there to assist you, not to do. There's a difference. But again, I just don't see that as a bad thing, right? I mean, why would it be a bad thing if it makes you able to do your job? So, yeah, I don't know. I
don't know about the stats.
I sometimes feel that there's a lot thrown out there about Braille is the only answer. And if you don't have Braille, you can't be successful. And I've almost heard that exact phrase used. And I find that it's belittling, I think, because there's lots of us who don't.
I think it's just maybe a little bit out of date. to be honest. I'd be far more interested to see, blind and visually impaired people, university students, now what they're using
today,
as opposed to 10, 20, 30 years ago.
And look, there's no doubt
I've got a feeling it's changed.
I would, if you were to chart it, in my mind, the chart would dip and then come back up again to some degree, but not as much. Because what would happen is you'd have gone through periods from the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s, where Braille was heavily used, heavily promoted, and of course, heavily, lots of kids were educated in early days. And because there wasn't much else. And then when computers came along, that started to dip. And then, of course, access to Braille teachers and QTVIs and all of that would start to go down. So therefore, the number went down. But then, with the advent of new technologies like Braille displays, and I know they've been around for a long time, but, more accessible, more portable, more usable with computers, all of that, starting up 80s, 90s to 2000s, 2010s, 2020s, you can almost see that number coming back up again. The question is, how far has it come back up in terms of usage of Braille? So that would be an interesting chart to look at but of course the problem is that there isn't that data. There just isn't that data.
Doesn't seem to be.
That's part of the problem, I think.
Thank you, Ken.
Yeah, thank you, Ken. Really appreciate that. And look, I think if I'm honest, I'd love to maybe get Ken on the show. Ken, if you're listening, you could maybe drop me an email, but I'd love to get in touch with you and perhaps get you on the show to discuss this more. And if anyone has a completely different view and wants to come on and challenge it, then you're more than welcome. That's what Double Tap's all about.
Be respectful.
Yeah. Unless it's me, of course, I'll just shout at you. That's okay. Because that's fine.
Yeah.
Because I'm the shouty one here. That's how this works. You're the nice guy, and I'm the not nice guy.
Oh, that's good. Is that the official title?
I think you're
Shaun
starting to
Nice Guy
reset
Preece. Stephen Shouty Scott.
Last year, if I'm honest, you were starting to, turn a bit like me, and I thought that was making me nervous because, there can't be two of us here.
Two shouters. Okay.
There can't be two shouty people. That doesn't work. Shall we hear from Kurt?
Oh, yes.
Dear Stephen, during yesterday's show, you were advocating for the development of national training centres, while Negative Julian emphasised the need for local training centres. No need to make a Christmas wish for either solution. It is already available here in Indiana. I have designed and deployed a training solution that combines the benefits of national and local training centres. Our organisation, First Aid for the Blind, serves a unique mission. Contrary to initial assumptions, we do not teach blind individuals how to apply bandages, use tourniquets, or perform CPR. Instead, our goal is to be the first line of support for individuals who have received a negative diagnosis concerning their vision. As someone who has been completely blind for nearly 27 years, I remember the anxiety that came with my diagnosis. Our mission is to replace the fear of an uncertain future with hopes and confidence. Training program. We provide virtual training sessions conducted via Zoom, allowing clients to participate from the comfort of their homes. This eliminates the need for travel to regional or national centres. The training program spans 1 week with 5 hours of instruction each day, totaling 25 lessons. Our advisors worked diligently to instill an extensive list of over 1,000 potential lessons down to the top 25 essential lessons. The training builds progressively, starting with basic skills and advancing systematically. Training devices. Our program ensures clients receive the most suitable training devices to support their learning. These devices include iPhone SE, Echo Pop, Talking Watch, and Micro-Speech Digital Recorder. Support for families. We recognise that vision loss affects not only the individual but also their family members. To address this, we encourage the client's support network to participate in the training alongside them. This approach ensures that family members are equipped with the same knowledge, alleviating their concerns and enabling them to provide informed support. At the conclusion of the training, clients receive a flash drive containing recordings of all lessons for future reference. Organisational background. First Aid for the Blind has been operational for 18 months. My lead trainer, Brian Clark, and I previously worked together at a state rehabilitation centre in Indiana. I served as the director for 9 years, while Brian specialised in teaching technology. Upon my retirement in 2022, the concept for First Aid for the Blind was already in place. Unlike traditional rehabilitation centres, which often require clients to wait over 6 months for training, we aim to begin training within 3 weeks of receiving a referral. This rapid response minimises the risk of anxiety and depression, ensuring clients receive timely support. Since our inception, we have served nearly 50 clients. Systemic changes. In the United States, each state typically has at least one rehabilitation training centre. However, access to these centres is often limited to individuals pursuing employment, as only they qualify for free, sponsored admission. This disparity is stark. For example, if someone breaks their leg in an auto accident, health insurance covers rehabilitation to relearn walking. Conversely, if an individual loses their vision in the same accident, insurance does not cover training for basic independent living skills. This gap in support is illogical and unjust. Closing thoughts. While I'm not seeking publicity for our organisation, I wanted to share our innovative approach with you and Negative Julian. Our initiative represents what 2 blind individuals have achieved independently. If you're interested in learning more about our services, please visit our website. Ryan also asked me to include a link to a fully artificially generated podcast that introduces first aid to the blind. He said that you gave him the idea and introduced him to the Notebook service. Give it a listen and you will be blown away by how real the co-hosts seem. From Kurt.
Yeah, not that real though, right? I mean, not like this. Not like
not as real as us though, Kurt. Surely.
Yeah, come on, Kurt. Seriously.
You couldn't AI this level of
no,
well,
I don't think there's any computer in the world that could do this. I mean,
Let's say absolutely amazing job. Well done. I have seen First Aid for the Blind floating around the community. I think I've seen it on Facebook and things like that. Pretty sure. Sounds absolutely amazing. It's so interesting how, almost taking it into our own hands. Not waiting for someone else to do it.
Are you saying that we need to build this thing?
Well, we have talked about this.
Look, we can barely get this show started every day. Can you imagine having an entire organization to run? Look, is there anyone out there who's got a brain that could do this? Because you tell you what, you do it. We'll give you the idea. There you go. You do it.
Again, though, there's so many great people out there, great teachers in our community that could do this sort of thing, right? It's just been underused or just, I don't know.
Do you know what it is, Shaun?
The resource is amazing.
I hate to say it again, but if you don't have blind people running these places, then you're not going to get these solutions because you'll miss the point. You need to, I'm not saying that everybody, I've said this before, you don't have, I'm not into the whole one person being blind running the show. That all feels a little bit egotistical to me. It has to be a bunch of blind people, director level, if it's a charity, across the board, throughout, from the guy who meets you at the door all the way to the CEO. There have to be blind people in those positions. Not everybody, but there have to be blind people in the room. Not the drivers, no. Okay. Drivers can absolutely be sighted. I think that's appropriate. So it does involve that, and that's what annoys me in some ways, is that these organizations have got the money already. They've got the links, they've got the relationships. A lot of it's misguided. There's a lot of misguided stuff going on, and I just don't know where it comes from. It's
almost like some sight loss organizations don't actually believe that blind people can do the job or capable enough to do certain positions.
I could tell you stories.
I hate to say it, but I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. And when I say I could tell you stories, I don't mean behind the scenes stuff. I mean stuff that's public, stuff that's been said out loud by organizations that has surprised me in the past. Ultimately, in order for this to work, and this is the same in any organization, there has to be a succession plan in place. I remember once saying to a CEO of a well-known organization who was talking about the importance of blind people in leadership positions, I said, okay, so when are you leaving? That went down well.
Well done.
But I said, when are you leaving? When are you? And if you're leaving, what plan have you got in place to make sure the next person who takes this job on is a qualified blind person, not just a blind person? I don't want that. I'm sorry, I don't want that.
Well,
I'm not into this.
I don't want the job.
Well, if someone said,
blindness is my only qualification.
Yeah, well, exactly. If that's the case, then you're out of the running. Okay, that's not how this works, because your experience of blindness is different to my experience of blindness. When I was growing up, my experience of blindness was completely different to today. Completely. If my level of vision hadn't changed, I would still feel the same way about Braille. I'd probably say, who cares? Who would want it? That's what I said back then. I wouldn't even consider that. I wouldn't know the intricacies of screen readers because I wasn't using them. And I was registered blind from 14 years old. So, I would be legitimately calling myself blind, but I'm not actually living that you might call blind life.
The walk. Yes.
Yeah. So if I walked into an organization and said, Braille, who cares? I wouldn't be representative of that community. So I couldn't, honestly, in that position, sit there and say I'm the best person to do this job. And even now, with the experience I've got, I don't think first off, I'm no CEO, so I'm not going to sit there and go, hey, I could do this, because it just sounds like there's charts and there's paperwork and this thing. And just forget it. Just forget it. Shut the thing down. Can't be bothered.
Well done. Sorry, that was a quick career. Stephen Scott resigns.
Stephen Scott, CEO. Right, I want to shout and bang tables. Is that what this job is about? No. You've got to fill in this paperwork. Forget it.
It's not, as you say, it's not just about the top spots there. It's having people who can guide the organisation throughout every single branch, division, whatever it may be. Absolutely. Kurt, sounds like you're doing a great job. I think we should get Kurt on.
Yeah, listen, I think, and Kurt, of course, friends with Brian Clark, who's, of course, our wonderful music man. And, you know, I just, if you were running an organization for women's issues, I don't know, let's just say there was an organization for that, right? You wouldn't staff it full of men, would you?
Yeah,
And that when you say that, it sounds so obvious, but that's not so obvious. When it comes to blind, it's funny the amount of times I've been in organizations for blind people, and they say to me, you know, almost like you go, where are all the blind people here? Right? This is a blindness organization. Where are the blind people? And they're like, well, you know, I deploy them and we'll get round to it. But, you know, we were busy. We had a night
got lots
out on
of blind
Friday.
Volunteers.
Yeah. Sandra had a leaving due. We couldn't do it then. You know, it's always an excuse not to do it almost. And I feel sometimes you're right. I think it's almost like, I feel in the UK especially, and I can only speak from the UK, I can't speak for other countries, but I know from my own experience, there's always been this sense of, no, but we'll need to do it for you. Yeah. We'll do this for you.
Exactly. Put your money where your mouth is.
We know best, because we've had careers and like work and stuff, so we know best. Mm-hmm. And actually, you don't. And that's kind of proven itself.
I must say as well, I read a news article a few months ago. I think I mentioned it actually about, you know, someone who was recently went through a sight loss and was given a diagnosis. I can't remember what it was now, glaucoma maybe, but whatever it was, and lost significant vision and was just left, you know, went home and that was it. Never heard anything. Amazing waiting list, and just felt like his life was over. I mean, you know, the waiting list is important because you need to show people, you need to start straight away. It's 6 months is terrible, and that's quick over here in the UK at least. So I think you're doing a great job, Kurt and Brian. Yeah,
it's needed. It really is needed. I'm glad it exists though in Indiana. So if you could just get it spread out to the rest of the US and then on beyond the borders, that'd be great. If you don't mind.
Well, hurry up.
See if you can get some of that AI money from Trump. You never know. Okay, let's move on to David.
Hi, Stephen. Hi, Shaun. I like your podcast for many reasons, but the social model of disability really resonated with me. Stephen, you say you want to be known not as a blind person, but rather a person who happens to be blind. I feel exactly the same way, as I explain in my memoir, Vision. I was not a blind judge, you see. I was a judge who happened to be blind. To me, that's not just a semantic difference. With best wishes to both of you, I hope you had a wonderful holiday season and a happy new year. David.
Oh, the judge.
The judge, Sir David Tatel. Thank you so much, David. Really appreciate that. Yeah. Do you really care about it? Honestly, I'm not sure how I feel about that. What I need to be known as blind Shaun, or someone who happens to be blind. If I'm ever going into a shop or ordering, it's like, blind Shaun. Just it's just so descriptive. I would sometimes even say fat blind Shaun, you know, just to give me even more, so they know exactly who they're looking out for.
Well, you know, I hate identity politics, right? That's the one thing that I think is killing us all. Frankly, it is just a nightmare, and you know, it's one thing that I just don't. I hate it because it just creates division. I am blind, so therefore, and it puts a barrier. In this case, if you were saying that, you're putting a barrier between you and the person you're talking to, whether that person's blind, whether that person's sighted,
I get it,
or otherwise. That's the
I'm
issue.
Being a little bit.
No, I know.
Cheek here,
but I know a lot of people don't really mind either way. And look, if someone says, "Are you blind?" Of course, yeah, I am. Right? Okay, fine. But if you ask me what my name is, it's not blind. It's Stephen. That's my point, right? And that to me that's who I am. I'm a lot of different things.
What's your name on social media?
I see. Everyone loves to hit me with this.
Yes,
Everyone
'cause
loves
it's
this
true.
one, right?
That's
'Cause they
what
always
we all do.
Oh, on social media, you're blind guy tech on X only, by the way.
Yes.
For however long that is before it gets shut down. And it's like, yeah, but that's a persona thing. That's also telling people out there who I am and what I am actually essentially talking about, right? That's the persona.
It's either bad or it's not, isn't it?
I will also say, by the way, the reason that handle actually exists is because we did the show Blind Guy Talks Tech way back when. And that was when that came about. Because that was originally the Tech Talker one, which I did for the previous show.
That's true.
I don't think I could get double tap, Steve. That's what I was trying to get.
Did you look for a blind double tap, Steve?
No.
Or double tap blind Steve?
No.
Okay. Right, cool.
Double tap blind. You got to be. I have realised though, especially in the States, you got to be careful with the double tap thing because I've had to explain it to a few people because it means two different things in America. I think it means more generally. Well, it's all to do with zombies, isn't it? Zombies and guns, not together, obviously.
Oh yeah,
Although
Zombieland 2 double tap. Yes, okay.
Yeah, exactly. That's
very
right.
good. It did help us out.
It was actually quite useful. Yeah, we did jump on a little bit of the marketing on that one. It's like funny. I remember when the Apple Watch came out with double tap, I was like, yes, let's use this.
Hang on to those tailcoats and coattails.
We'll drag ourselves along with you. That would be great. Thank you very much, Apple. Of all the people,
thank you very much, David. And check out David's memoir, by the way. Vision is very good.
I'm trying to hear. I've been listening to this back and forward a couple of times here. I cannot remember the name of our next contributor, so I'm sure they will name themselves. I just can't hear it. See, if I had Braille in front of me, everything would be fine. Okay, let's hear our next email.
Hi, gents. I have to weigh in on the conversation regarding what words cannot be used when talking to a blind person.
Oh, I like this.
The more our vocabulary is limited, the result is, logically, a limited discussion between parties. I am all for limiting words of hate speech, and if some people in our community consider words such as blind or disabled as hate speech, then that is of their own choosing. Personally, with a name like Mike, when texting with people who I consider acquaintances, I usually tag it with the blind guy. How can people really understand my perspective if we continue to restrict what we say and how we say it? This cannot be done. I would think that time would be better spent focusing their efforts on criticising institutions, such as Canada's federal government or other institutions, who do give you the cold shoulder and dismiss further comments when you question what they believe is the status quo, and this is what should be done. An example of the federal government not walking the talk is our passport offices. I mean, really, when my wife went to pick up our passports, I noticed that people were given a ticket, and my wife told me the ticket numbers show up on a board. When I asked how I was going to know when my ticket was called if my wife had to take a phone call or leave the area for some reason, they looked at each other and said they did not know how it would work for me. So much for accessibility standards being started at the top. From the Man Cave, Mike.
Thank you, Mike. Glad you said your name. In the Man Cave. There you go.
The Man Cave. Man Cave Mike. I like it. Man Cave Blind Mike. Okay, it's getting a bit too long now.
Yeah, it's getting ridiculous.
Such a great example, though. That ticket and number being displayed visually only is... the fix is so simple as well. It's just a lack of thought going into it. Accessibility given no thought whatsoever in that department. A speaker system which also, speaks the number would fix that immediately.
Exactly. Yeah. And where was Mike again? Did he say where he was? I know he's in Canada, but did you say where? Because I was thinking,
I can't remember.
I was thinking back to the whole Ontario conversation we had with David Lepofsky and this whole, all these accessibility standards that were supposed to be brought in. And it sounds like you are in that area, Mike. But, obviously it doesn't work, right? It's not working if 20 years in that law is in place and then there's something like this that's just going on. And of course, what I've noticed is oftentimes it's it's always, frankly, about getting the accessibility in at the beginning, right? So in the UK, I think this is now more broad across the board now, you have on a bus, it will now read verbally out to you the next stop. Right, so you'll have on a bus, it will tell you the next stop, and it's only just come into the area where I am.
You're posh.
I mean, not
buses.
Posh? Are you kidding me? We get nothing. We're lucky to have electricity, to be perfectly honest with you. But
electric buses, even posher.
We don't even have those. We don't have them yet. No, I'm still pumping gas into the atmosphere. It's terrible, this place. Why do I live here? But the thing is that, you have this situation where, you have these buses that talk, and if you get the technology in, at the foundational level, it means that any bus that then comes along that's installed with that technology will have that capability. In fact, there was one bus I was on, and I think it was new, certainly in this area, and it wasn't talking. And I said to the driver, look, this thing should be telling me the next stop. And he said, oh, yeah, hang on a minute. And he fiddled around with some buttons and pressed something, and suddenly he says, I didn't know that talked. And he said, I bet we'll get sick of that within the next 10 minutes. And, I think he then switched it off, which was not very helpful. But he did tell me the story.
I hope you complained and got him sacked immediately.
No, I have to. I think, to be honest, that company's not got long to go, to be honest, the way things are going.
You joke about that, but that is the kind of attitude that we got to deal with when it comes to accessibility. Oh, that's annoying. Let me turn it off. Well, hang on. You just made this bus trip now so much more anxiety filled for me.
My favourite is when someone hears your phone talk, and you often get different responses, but one I get quite a lot is, "Oh, that must drive you mad." And I'm like,
no.
Well, you talk all over it. It does, yeah. But no, it's such an interesting topic. This, isn't it? The whole language thing. Yeah, I
Please
understand.
Don't get started.
No, but I'll say this.
I'm not sure how long we got left, but not long enough for one of your...
We've long enough.
Oh, no.
I just feel that, whenever a topic comes up, whenever someone brings up a topic, someone might say, like this, let's say this, for example, the language topic, there's whataboutism can come in, right? People say, yeah, that's fine, but what about this? And what about this? And what about that? But I think this is different, because the problem we have in our community is that if let's say a story gets into the national news about a blind person, whatever that story is, unless it's a crime or unless it's a death or something like that, if we're talking about someone who's achieved something or someone who's done well, that kind of story, you'll hear it once every couple of months. If you hear about an issue relating to disability, you'll hear about it once every couple of months. There's a sense that in newsrooms, once they've done a disability story, they've done it. Right? It's like they're not going to do another one. It's like next week. Oh, well, actually, I'd like to pick you up on this. Yeah. They've done it. Yeah. We've covered that. I've actually spoken to editors before of either newspapers or TV shows who've said, "Now we covered disability last month.
Yeah,
don't do it again."
Yeah.
And they're quite blatant about it. It's not like they hide it. It's not. And I'm like, okay, so women's issues, same. Yeah, you've done it, so we're not going to do it again. And they all go, but that's different. How's it different? And you have this argument, but that's the reality. That's the thinking, right? So what I'm getting at here is that if we have so little space for big issues to get out there, please don't make it language, because it is such a non-starter. It doesn't solve anything. I'm sorry, guys. It just doesn't. It doesn't fix anything. There is nothing you can point to. Please try. I'd love to hear it. But I cannot think of one thing that would ever change by changing the meaning of a word or the use of a word. If you say, oh, well, I'm not visually impaired. That was the classic last year at the NFB convention. Don't use visually impaired. Right. What does that actually achieve? What does it mean? I'll tell you exactly what it means. It means you get into a taxi, or you meet someone on the street and you talk to them and you say, hello, I'm Stephen. I'm actually visually impaired. And they go, oh, you can't say that because I heard from somewhere that you can't say that anymore. That's what it achieves. That's it. So I now have a sighted person telling me how I can talk about myself. Well done, guys.
Yes.
Brilliant job.
Okay, calm down.
That's the reality.
The only
if you start mucking about with words, don't use the word blind, but only in this context, not that context, only here, only on a Tuesday with a man with a pointy hat. It doesn't mean anything. It means nothing.
Fine. Everything's fine.
How does it solve any of the problems? How many people are out of work?
No.
How much inaccessibility is out there? Get that on the radar.
We're out of
language. It's just words. It doesn't mean anything.
Because of words, Stephen Scott. It's exactly that. If we called ourselves, I don't know, sight different,
it would mean
we would
nothing.
all get jobs tomorrow. No,
exactly,
of course not.
That's right, exactly. Because if we said that, then people, you're slightly different. In which case, if you'd only said that in the first place, of course we'd have given you all a job.
Come on in.
Blind people are, not blind people, because obviously that's now a bad word. It just
You can have
enrages
the
me.
only possible reason for that discussion is personal choice. If I don't want to be referred to as visually impaired, that's absolutely
And
up to me.
you've hit it on the head, right? Because that's exactly it. So this is my favorite thing with all these people who advocate, I don't want to hear this word used again. This is a terrible word. And then you say, well, hang on. I might want to choose to use that word. Well, you could use it. Right, well, what are you talking about then? Does it mean anything?
Yeah.
It's either deleted from the
agree.
dictionary and no one uses it again. And there are perfect examples of that. The R word for us, okay? That is one word that we don't want to hear again.
Yeah.
We don't want to hear that because that was a word which was used against us, right? But the word blind isn't. The words visually impaired aren't. So why are we changing this? Why are we mucking around with it? And why are we making it a focus of conversation? Because that's what gets into the psyche. That's the stuff that, I'm sorry, but that's what falls into this whole left-wing, liberal woke agenda that everyone talks about, which has, quite frankly, dominated the conversation and changed politics. And that is part of it. And what people hear on the outside of that is, oh, here we go again, more people telling us what we can and can't say. And it actually creates bigger division between us and the society we're trying to connect with. Look, I've said it before, there is no blind island. There's nowhere you can go that's just full of blind people and you can live your happy blind life. You live in the real world with everyone else, or soon Mars. That's it. That's your options. Okay? So, either get with it and actually focus on things that really matter. Let's talk about employment. Let's talk about the issues. I've been talking about tech. I feel like I'm the only person in the world that's coming up with this idea of a centre that actually helps people learn technology. It's the most obvious thing in the world. And everyone says to me, that's okay, yeah, I could do that, yeah. But as long as you don't call it the Visually Impaired Centre, I will shut you down.
The Centre for the Blind. Forget it. Right. Okay. Do you feel better?
I was actually quite good. I know we had that BetterHelp app on a Friday, but I think this is my BetterHelp.
Is
You're
it?
my therapist, whether you like it or not.
I'll send you an invoice.
I don't think I have enough to cover it this year. Let's move on. I want to talk about changing AirTag batteries. It's a tech show, honest. Here's Jenine Stanley.
Okay, Shaun and Stephen, I am holding in front of me an Apple AirTag, and I'm going to show you how to change the battery. So I'm holding right now, and I'm doing this on my Meta glasses, so I'm holding the AirTag with the front facing me. I'm going to turn it over, and now the back is facing me, and the back has a slightly textured, kind of brushed finish, and it is slightly smaller than the AirTag. I'm going to put my index finger and middle finger on the back of it, and I'm going to turn it over so you can kind of see. There we go. So I'm holding it against my index finger and middle finger. I'm going to take my thumbs like I am, there we go. I'm going to take my thumbs like I'm doing a rotor gesture on the phone. And I'm going to push down slightly, and I'm going to twist to the left or counterclockwise. And you'll feel it move, and then you feel it release. And there it is, release. Now I'm going to take the lid off, put it there, and here is the battery. So I'm going to dump that battery out. I have put the AirTag over my hand. I have turned it upside down and tapped it gently, but the battery just fell out. So here is the battery. One side of the battery, again, has that sort of matte, that brushed finish. You know what I mean, as I scratch it with my thumbnail. The other side is smooth. So we want to put the brushed side down. We pick up the AirTag. There's the inside of the AirTag. We want to put the battery in with that brushed side down, smooth side up. And you may hear, as it goes in, you may hear a little noise there. Now we're going to put the back on. And I'm going to just put the back on and kind of push it into place. Now to get the back to stay on, I'm going to do the reverse of what I did to get it off. So I'm going to put the AirTag in my fingers with index finger and middle finger on the back, thumbs on the front, and I'm going to press down and turn clockwise until it clicks, which now see, it didn't click. You heard noise, but it didn't click, so I got to get a better hold on it. Okay, there we go. And we're going to do a rotor gesture with my thumbs and push down, until it doesn't move anymore, and voila, it's in. So basically, you're holding the AirTag, you're going to do a rotor gesture clockwise to close it, counterclockwise to open it with a slight push down. And that is how you change the battery on an Apple AirTag.
Isn't she great?
Genius. Lefty loosey, righty tighty.
Lefty loosey, righty goosey. Was it goosey? I thought it was goosey.
No, it's righty tighty. To tighten it up.
Righty tighty, lefty loosey.
Turn it left.
I've been getting that wrong all this time.
Oh, unbelievable.
I couldn't understand what the goosey thing was all about.
Yeah,
I think
you're
I just
strange.
made that up in my head.
Very good. I'm going to try
Thank you,
that. Thank you very much, Jenine.
Yeah, you could try. You need to find your AirTag first.
I know, yeah.
Listen, I want to mention before we go a couple of emails we get in about email, because we were asking about email clients last week, and anyone had any recommendations. First up, I spotted an email from Guy, who got in touch from Ohio, who says, I've been using Thunderbird for quite a while now. And he says, I absolutely love it. It's accessible. It's at least on Windows and Linux. He said, very easy to use. On the Mac, not so much. The Mac Mail app is definitely the way to go there. There are great scripts for Thunderbirds with JAWS and NVDA add-ons as well. He says, I enjoy your show and I wanted to share my opinion. Well, I'm glad you did, Guy. Thank you for that. I'm going to try this app out. You know that? I'm going to try it out.
Maybe worth another look, yeah. Well, maybe not on the Mac, though.
Not the Mac for sure. No, I think we'll stick to the PC. Also, who else has been in touch here? Peter has been in touch from Budapest, Hungary, in Budapest. Is Hungary in Budapest? Hang on a minute, is that right?
Yes, that's absolutely correct.
I suppose I say, is it right? He's written it, so
he would know.
I think he might know. Anyway, says I, Yeah, Budapest, whatever that is. He says, hi guys, I use the good old Windows Live Mail, which is part of Windows Live Essentials. It's very old. It works very well. I even read my subscribed RSS feeds. Forget about ribbons as well if you install the 14.0 version.
Wow.
It was released in 2009. It can be installed and run on Windows 10. Haven't tried Windows 11 though.
Windows Live, that is a blast from the past.
It goes back a bit.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was still available, but very good. I may Google that after and give that a go. It sort of takes me back to, I just want Outlook Express, right?
Yes.
Back in the day.
Oh.
Easy, simple, nice and accessible. What more do you need? But very good.
I'll go back to when, I think I mentioned this to you recently, the Microsoft Entourage, which was the Mac version of Outlook back in the day.
Nerd. Okay.
And it was dreadful.
Everything
Microsoft was terrible back then, to be perfectly honest. But Entourage was particularly bad. I remember it had terrible time trying to connect to certain mail servers, and then it was too bloated even then.
Have you tried connecting your email accounts to Outlook recently? I mean, it's not the easiest process.
The only thing I have an issue with is Apple accounts trying to connect them, because you've got to go and create an app-specific password.
Yeah. Oh,
and that's horrible. That's a horrible experience.
Did you know, by the way, just a quick one, Microsoft from February are going to keep you signed in to your Microsoft accounts. So if you use a computer somewhere else, you use a friend's computer or in public, in a cafe or whatever, and you sign into your Microsoft either email or whatever, unless you sign out, you are going to stay signed in to that computer forever. It doesn't time out, session timeout or anything.
Wow.
It keeps you logged in. Be aware of that. From February, Microsoft will no longer log you out of your account just on a timed basis. You will just stay there.
So if you were using a library computer or something, because sometimes those computers, don't they automatically I always think it's about those self-cleaning toilets. As soon as you walk away, it just completely washes out the hard drive.
The thing to do is make sure you're either in private browsing, I think it's Control-Shift-N in Edge or Chrome.
Or when you're looking for a present for your wife.
For a present, yes, that's all you're looking for. Yeah, Make sure you're in private browsing, because that will not remember your login credentials. Or make sure you sign out of your account. If you're checking your emails in the library or something, make sure you sign out.
Wow. That's not
It's
great.
an interesting move from Microsoft. I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Well, I must admit, the problem is the other side of that coin is the amount of times you have to sign in, and then remember to stay signed in, which it never does. So therefore,
well, you do have passkeys on every Microsoft service now, so definitely check that out. If you want to set up a passkey, it is accessible. Don't please ask me to do it.
Yes, you're going to do something on passkeys, because I want to know how to use them, and also I want to know how to use Apple shortcuts, and also there's a list developing here, Preece.
I'll look into passkeys. Okay. Okay, no problem.
Okay, that's quite interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that about Microsoft. Okay, I did read something about that, but I thought it was related to the increase, because of course that price increase is coming in. People are looking for alternatives. One alternative that a lot of people don't think about is Google Workspace, because that's a pretty decent setup. I mean, it's
we've been getting
accessible.
into Google Docs, haven't we? Over the past few months, we've tried it a few times, and it works really well, I've got to say.
They've improved a lot. I mean, it was awful at the beginning.
I was a little bit confused at the beginning. Had to turn on sort of screen reader mode or something.
And there's a Braille option as well. You've got it. It's like you got to make it Braille friendly or something. I can't remember what the thing is.
See, we both can't remember.
I said it like however many times years ago, you know, and
you said it and forget
make sure
it.
You do it. Yeah,
literally, in our case.
Yeah. Well, that's right. Sounds right.
Dear.
Listen, we're out of time, but as always, thank you for your emails. Thank you for your comments. Insightful, thoughtful, and rant-inducing. Which I've got to say is my favourite moment. I know some of you out there are probably sitting there with your cup of tea going, here we go.
I triggered Stephen. It's a bit of a game, really.
It's a T-shirt waiting to happen, isn't it? Listen, we'll be back tomorrow and we'll do it all again. We'll shout, we will rant, we will cry, we will laugh. All emotions available here at Double Tap. So yeah, we'll catch you tomorrow for another show. Shaun, thank you. We'll chat tomorrow. And we'll chat tomorrow as well.
We'll chat tomorrow. Thank you. Bye-bye.